Only thing these people appreciate and respect is mutually assured destruction. That's the only model. You cannot negotiate terms. You cannot make a reasonable argument. You cannot buy or earn your way out of. You cannot entrepreneur your way out of. You cannot educate or academic your way out of, because only framework they operate on is, do you have the capacity and will to kill me as I have to do you? And if you lack the equal capacity and will, and once you get to a position of mutually assured destruction, then and only then do these people sit at the table and make peace and negotiate and make concessions. And they define peace as an opportunity to regroup and re-engage with warfare in every situation, in every epoch in history. And here we got us questioning ourselves like, damn, we ain't unified. We don't have enough unity. We don't have enough money. There's never enough unity. There's never enough money. There's never enough black banks and black businesses. There's never enough two-parent solid black family homes. Because all of those things they claim we need to get now existed under oppression. Existed, many of the things they claim they want now existed under slavery and colonization. So we have to finally come to terms that we are up against an omnicidal enemy. An enemy with an insatiable death urge. And that's what should be the foundations of what we organize for and what our ultimate goal should be. Completely removing the capacity of these people to wage war, removing whatever instruments, tools they have available to themselves. And I think when we really start to talk about anything other than harm reductions or navigation of these choppy waters of white hegemony, global white domination cannot exist on a humane, functional, vibrant world. We have to destroy all institutions and infrastructures of capitalism and global white hegemony, mainly their international and global war machines. And that is a grand task that will take multiple generations, that we don't even entertain that shit. We think, how do we thrive under this shit instead of how do we completely obliterate it? That's our fucking problem. And all the organization in the world will not fix you. Like the most well constructed vehicle in the world will not get you where you're going if you're on the wrong path.
So it depends on who's doing the organizing and what is being organized. So going back to the very beginning, that's where I was trying to catch up to where Diallo is on defining the we, because we started from different points. So the we I'm starting from, just as an example, is expressed here in the late, great Russell Maroon Schultz work from his book, The Implacable. And just give me a moment to read this and then to finish my thought on this, if I could, because I don't want to be misunderstood, but I think will help for me clarify the distinction that I want to draw from what Diallo is talking about, because I largely agree with what Diallo is saying, but in terms of this point about who is the we doing the organizing and on what basis are we doing that organizing, that's where I think we disagree. And I ultimately would want to, because the narrative capture that has us falsely organizing, to Diallo's point, is intended to negate this. So, as Schultz says here, what's called nonviolence is often juxtaposed as the opposite of violence by those who want to believe that our species can somehow remove ourselves from the violent universe of which we are a part, a tiny part, while continuing to participate in the violent phenomena that are responsible for our existence, such as the violent movement of tectonic plates that continue to shape the very ground under our feet. Counterposing nonviolence to violence, however, totally confuses the progression of these phenomena. One cannot properly understand violence without recognizing its kinetic aspect, the motion of material bodies and the force and energy associated with that motion. This is a state that the already mentioned examples of violence exhibit. We cannot violate the laws of physics, which dictate that a body in motion cannot be checked without a body possessing an equal or greater counter motion. So we have to look elsewhere if we want to locate an opposite kinetic energy to serve that purpose, since nonviolence by its very description cannot be scientifically understood to contain a counter-kinetic energy. In fact, the opposite of violence is counter-violence, a kinetic energy force that is capable of providing a counter motion, thereby satisfying the laws of physics, and can also serve as a check on the forward or reverse movements of violence. All things being equal, this is what can lead to a synthesis between the two, which would then be nonviolence. So in addition to fully agreeing with that analysis, my point in addition to what Diallo has said is, on that basis, we are being out-organized and need great degrees of organization that will be transferable intergenerationally to do what Diallo accurately describes must be done. The effort against that, and Schultz and the like, is to create the false narrative upon which most, I think, Diallo is right in saying, are organizing, which is merely to survive, to exist, to do well within, and so on and so forth. But that is done to negate the analysis coming out of certain wings of our communities that we do need to enhance organization around. And that's where I do find the possible potential. So even when the idea of however we want to define violence, the inability for the current system to progress and to function properly is ultimately what I'm talking about disturbing and upending. How that occurs can be any number of different ways, and then the violence can be defined any number of different ways. But that element, I think, is what I think we need greater, or that area is where I think we need greater organization, no effort to do the things that I agree Diallo said need to be done.
So considering like geopolitics and sanctions, for example, ECOWAS put sanctions on states, and this include like border closures, stopping transit routes, where prevent people from getting food and medicine and things like that. Can y'all speak to maybe what you would know about or would be similar to sanctions that the U.S. do to its U.S. citizens, maybe like in a Baltimore in the city? Like, how would you relate what sanctions happen internationally to what could be considered similar to sanctions domestically? Again, this is to tie everything's political. Sometimes people think the water is just as is and it has no kind of political connection. So if you can describe some type of sanction-like thing that the U.S. does to its own citizens, what would y'all say?